but talk a little bit about how you came into wanting to be an architect and when you found that out.
So when I was a kid, like a little kid, I was always interested in art, as I'm sure you remember.
That's true.
And I was always drawing and taking art classes, and that was sort of a main focus of mine when I was a kid, and I was okay at it. And there was definitely a time where I was like, I'm going to be an artist one day. This is young, like 5, 6 years old. But then by the time I was about like probably 10, I was already talking about wanting to be an architect. And of course that makes most adults roll their eyes, because what 10-year-old is like, I'm going to be an architect.
Actually knows.
Yeah. So, but I sort of had the aptitude with like science and math, like, and as the years went on, it sort of seemed like my abilities in school versus my sort of artistic and creative abilities would maybe lend well to architecture in general. After speaking, I spoke with other architects who are already in the practice, and like I said, I did these pre-college programs.
Yeah, did your parents kind of throw that on the table as an option, or how did you even get connected with architects that young?
So my mom is a big believer in connecting and networking. So from very young, 12, 13, I was already talking to people in the field. When I was in high school, I actually, my art teacher from when I was a kid, her nephew was a very recent architecture graduate and was working at an architecture firm in our hometown. And he gave me like architecture lessons when I was a freshman in high school.
Wow.
Which, yeah, that was pretty wild. It was super, super nice of him. I mean, of course, my parents were paying him, but that really helped because he would give me sort of exercises that he would have his freshman year of college. So it was kind of showing like what could be done and like what your brain needed to do, because it wasn't like, here, design a floor plan. It was much more abstract than that. And that is kind of how it went once school came around. Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like, that's an experience that a lot of people don't have. And I asked a little bit later about if you have a mentor, and I feel like it's really hard to find someone who is doing what you want to do at any age. So, maybe he's not much of a mentor, but at that stage of your life, that's super helpful and important. And I kind of touched on in my first episode, but my parents made me do an engineering internship where I saw what 10 different engineers did. And, what I took away from it wasn't that I wanted to fell in love with any one job, but I was like, oh, this is still, there's a ton of stuff I could do with this that, I'll find something eventually. So very cool. Okay. So you identified architecture with the help of parents and, go get them attitude. You decided architecture in school. You applied to a couple schools. I mean, Julie is as Jersey as it gets, so looked in the Jersey and New York City area. You'll probably resent that.
Funnily enough, there's only one accredited architecture school in the entire state of New Jersey, so just FYI.
Okay, well, I put New York and New Jersey in the same category, but that's just because I'm from the South, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
By my senior year, I definitely knew I wanted to go into architecture. I didn't apply to school for anything else. I applied to a bunch of different schools, but I didn't apply to any other majors. I had done some pre-college programs leading up to my senior year of high school. So I did one at the Parsons School of Design here in New York. I did one at Drexel, which is in Philadelphia, and I did one at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. And those were really helpful and interesting because, one, it sort of showed the rigor of what the programs were going to be like when I finally got into college, but they were also very different in the way that they were teaching architecture and design. So Parsons is a strictly art school. I went there for a fine arts program. Drexel is sort of in between. It's, design and architecture sort of combined. And then NJIT, while it's an architecture school, it's very technical. And so that sort of helped me when I was a senior decide what kind of architecture school I wanted to go to. Because there is sort of a variation in how the curriculum is set up and what they emphasize in their schools. So that was a big indicator when I was applying.
Yeah, I guess, right. Just like any other major or concentration, you can break it down a couple different ways and have to figure some of that out before school and some during school.